Consistency, so calm. It's terrifying. This level of consistency doesn't require willpower, and that's why it unsettles people. When someone operates with machine-like precision, never missing a day, never making excuses, it forces others to confront their own limitations. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to reach this terrifying level of discipline that makes people look at you with genuine fear. I've spent years studying individuals who possess this almost supernatural consistency. People who wake up at the exact same time every single day, follow identical routines, and never deviate from their path. While others are making New Year's resolutions that die by February, these individuals are building empires through relentless daily action. What I discovered will change how you think about habits forever. The secret isn't motivation. It isn't even discipline in the traditional sense. It's something far more systematic and deeply unsettling to witness. When you master this approach, you'll stop being someone who tries and become someone who simply cannot fail. But I need to warn you up front, this method requires you to sacrifice a part of your identity that you might be attached to. The part that negotiates, that makes excuses, that believes flexibility equals freedom. Before we dive deep, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because what I'm sharing today goes against everything most productivity experts teach. Comment below with the one habit you want to make absolutely unbreakable in your life. Your engagement tells me you're serious about transformation, not just entertainment. Most people will watch this and do nothing. If you're not one of them, text discipline to 325-378-6868 for the one-page implementation plan. Let me start with a story that perfectly illustrates what we're talking about. I once knew someone who worked in tech, brilliant guy with an impressive career trajectory, but he had one massive blind spot. He couldn't maintain any personal habit for more than 2 weeks. Exercise routines would last 10 days. Reading goals died after a few chapters. Meditation practices never survived the first week. The pattern was always identical. Monday brought explosive motivation. Wednesday introduced the first mental negotiations. Friday marked complete surrender. Sunday was filled with promises about starting fresh next week. This person tried every conventional approach: habit tracking applications, reward systems, accountability partnerships, even financial penalties. Nothing worked because he was fighting an enemy he couldn't see: the fundamental architecture of his own brain, until he discovered why certain groups of people can maintain practices for decades without missing a single day. And it had nothing to do with superior willpower. The answer came from studying monastic communities that have maintained continuous practices for over 800 years. These aren't casual habits we're talking about. These are life-defining commitments that shape every moment of existence. In these communities, there exists a principle that seems simple but changes everything: continuous practice without interruption, without a single gap. Think about what that actually means. For centuries, every morning at precisely the same time, a bell rings. And for centuries, without exception, people respond. Not 5 minutes early, not 5 minutes late. Exactly on time, every single day. What never happens in these environments? No one lies in bed debating whether today should be an exception. The question simply doesn't exist in their mental framework. Here's what separates these individuals from everyone else. Your brain categorizes every commitment you make into 2 distinct categories: reversible decisions and irreversible decisions. Reversible commitments become sources of internal negotiation. Should I or shouldn't I? Maybe tomorrow would be better. Perhaps I need more sleep today. Irreversible commitments bypass this negotiation entirely. They just happen. When someone in a monastic community makes their commitment public in front of the entire group, they're not making a promise to try harder. They're fundamentally altering their identity. They're not saying they'll attempt to meditate daily. They're declaring themselves to be someone who meditates daily. The community witnesses this transformation. The old identity dies. The negotiation phase ends permanently. Neuroscience research has revealed something fascinating about public commitments. When you make a behavior visible to others, your primitive brain interprets failure as a threat to survival. Throughout human evolution, individuals who lost status within their group faced potential death. Your brain still operates under these ancient protocols. Social failure triggers the same alarm systems as physical danger. This is exactly what our tech professional implemented. He stopped making private resolutions and started making public declarations. He wrote down his commitment clearly: I am someone who practices meditation for 20 minutes every morning at 5 a.m. for 90 consecutive days. He signed this statement. He posted it across his social media platforms. He told every person in his life about this commitment. The responses were predictable. His girlfriend called it dramatic. Coworkers said he was trying too hard. Perfect. Every single person who knew about his commitment became fuel for his consistency engine. Every morning when he wanted to quit, he thought about facing all these people and admitting he was just another person who couldn't deliver on his word. Day 3 brought the first real test. The alarm sounded at 5 a.m. Immediately, his mind launched into its familiar routine. You're exhausted. This schedule isn't sustainable. One missed day won't matter in the long run. But something fundamental had shifted. The thought of posting on social media that he'd failed after 3 days felt unbearable. The idea of looking his girlfriend in the eye and admitting he'd given up again was worse than getting out of bed. The public declaration had made quitting more painful than continuing. But this only solved the first layer of the problem. Even with all this social pressure, he was still fighting an internal war every single morning. His body didn't care about his reputation. It wanted comfort when tired, warmth when cold, rest when demanded. That's when he discovered the second principle: non-negotiable scheduling. Every day you waste precious mental energy on the same pointless question: when should I do this? Before breakfast or after? Morning or evening? This seemingly minor decision burns glucose in your brain that should be reserved for actual execution. You're depleting your fuel, deciding when to drive instead of focusing on the driving itself. Our subject chose 5 a.m., not because he naturally loved early mornings or enjoyed watching sunrises. He chose 5 a.m. because the world was asleep. No incoming messages, no urgent emails, no distractions, no possible excuses. The time wasn't about optimization. It was about elimination, removing every conceivable reason to postpone the practice. The first week was brutal. His body fought against this new pattern every single morning. This resistance is completely normal. Your body operates like a sophisticated machine that functions through established patterns. When you force it to build new neural pathways, it pushes back hard. This resistance isn't a sign of weakness. It's proof the system is working. In the second week, something shifted. He started waking up 2 minutes before his alarm. His body had begun preparing automatically for what was coming. On day 14, the alarm rang and his feet hit the floor before his conscious mind even engaged. No thought process, no decision making, just immediate movement. Here's what most people misunderstand about fixed scheduling. It's not about finding the perfect time slot. It's about removing time as a variable in the equation. When you practice at different times each day, you're forcing your brain to make a fresh decision every single time. When the schedule becomes fixed, your brain can't argue with a constant. But our protagonist discovered a new problem emerging. His schedule had become locked, but he kept changing what he did during that sacred time. Some mornings meditation felt right. Other days he chose reading. Sometimes he did physical exercises. His brain had found a new negotiation point. Instead of arguing about when, it started arguing about what. 20 minutes at 5 a.m. became reliable, but the actual practice remained chaotic. He'd eliminated the when, but not the what. His mind was still finding loopholes to exploit. This is where most people get stuck. They think variety keeps things interesting, but variety is actually where consistency dies. Every time you change what you're doing, your brain has to make micro decisions. Should I do push-ups or stretches today? Which book should I read? How long should I meditate? Every small decision creates a crack where old patterns can leak back in. Decision fatigue accumulates with each choice, weakening your ability to execute. So he locked down everything completely. 20 push-ups, 10 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes of reading. Same order, same timer, same routine. His personal intensive period, 90 days of identical practice. His friends called him robotic. His girlfriend said he was becoming obsessive. They didn't understand that robotic was exactly the goal. Week 3 brought intense mental warfare. Every morning, his mind screamed for variety. This is stupid. You're not a machine. Mix things up or you'll burn out completely. Week 4 marked a breakthrough, not in his discipline, but in his resistance. The voice of negotiation grew quieter. By week 6, he was halfway through his push-ups before realizing he'd even started. The practice was executing itself. This is what people fundamentally misunderstand about consistency. It's not about willpower lasting forever. It's about repetition until willpower becomes irrelevant. Your body learns the sequence like a dancer learns choreography. Research shows that when you repeat an action in identical context for approximately 66 days, the basal ganglia of your brain take control. The behavior becomes automatic. You're no longer deciding to act, you're simply acting. Day 35 brought the flu. Day 40 required travel for work. This is where the old pattern typically resurfaces. Sick day equals rest day. Travel equals exception. This is where previous attempts failed, where everyone fails, because perfect practice seems to require perfect conditions, and perfect conditions never exist. But he had learned something crucial about gaps. Any interruption, no matter how justified, allows old patterns to return. It's not about the physical practice being perfect. It's about continuity being maintained. The all-or-nothing mentality has destroyed more consistency than laziness ever could. You tell yourself, if I can't do the full 20 minutes, why bother with anything? If I can't do perfect push-ups, I'll wait until tomorrow. This thinking creates gaps, and gaps are where your former self crawls back in. Elite athletes understand this principle intuitively. They have rest days, but those rest days are still progress. They're intentional, strategic, planned. Never because they feel lazy, never because they don't want to train. A rest day allows them to train harder tomorrow. This is still movement toward the goal, but when you skip because you're tired, that's not rest, it's retreat. A river never stops flowing. During drought, it might become a trickle, but it never stops completely. The moment it stops, it's no longer a river. It's a memory of where water used to be. Your practice operates identically. The moment you create a gap, you're no longer practicing. You're someone who used to practice. On his travel day, our subject did push-ups in the airport bathroom. People stared like he'd lost his mind. Excellent. He meditated in the rideshare vehicle. He read on the airplane. Nothing was perfect. Everything maintained momentum toward the same goal he'd declared 90 days earlier. This is the principle in action. Practice continuing itself. That's when others started noticing something different. Coworkers said he seemed changed. Friends mentioned he was becoming obsessive. Someone actually suggested his discipline wasn't healthy, that normal people don't behave this way. When you hear these words, you know you're on the correct path. Normal people achieve normal results. You're not attempting to be normal. You're attempting to be unbreakable. But there's something no one prepares you for. The unexpected obstacles you never anticipated. Events you can't plan for because you don't know they exist. Your child gets sick. Your car breaks down on the way to the gym. Your boss demands you stay late. These become consistency killers because you haven't predetermined how to handle them. Every time an unexpected obstacle appears, you must make a decision under stress. That decision, made in chaos, will always choose the path of least resistance. The obstacle wins because you're fighting unprepared. Monastic communities have operated for centuries without missing practice. Earthquakes, wars, famines, the practice continues regardless. How is this possible? They don't make decisions when obstacles arise. The response already exists. When the meditation hall floods, they move to the dining hall. When the dining hall catches fire, they practice in the courtyard. There's no meeting, no discussion, no negotiation. The bell rings. The response is automatic. Our subject wrote down every obstacle that had previously broken his consistency and pre-solved each scenario. Plan for rain, push-ups in the garage, house guests staying over, silent workout in the bathroom, hangover, which shouldn't happen. But if it does, 2 push-ups, 1 minute of meditation, 1 page of reading. Each scenario had its predetermined response. When X happens, I do Y. No thinking, no negotiating, just execution. The power of this approach isn't just maintaining the sequence, it's that you stop wasting mental energy on decisions. Your brain knows that regardless of what tomorrow brings, the practice continues. This certainty transforms your entire nervous system. Research shows when you pre-decide your actions, you remove decision fatigue from critical moments. Your prefrontal cortex, responsible for willpower, remains intact to execute rather than decide. Day 70 marked a profound shift. His practice had become completely automatic. He would sometimes wake up not remembering doing the push-ups. His body moved through the sequence like a programmed machine. When his girlfriend's mother visited for a week, he did push-ups in the bathroom at 5 a.m. The practice continued because the answers were already written. On day 90, he completed his personal intensive period, 3 months of uninterrupted practice. But something deeper had occurred. He was no longer the same person. Friends literally told him his consistency was scary. His response was perfect. Great. Because when your discipline makes others uncomfortable, you're finally operating at the right level. Your existence proves that everything they claim is impossible is actually just uncomfortable. That's why they'll call you obsessive. That's why they'll say you need balance. They need you to slow down so they can feel better about standing still. But you're not doing this for them. You're doing this because you've discovered the secret. Consistency isn't about doing something every day. It's about becoming someone who can't do it any other way. When you implement this complete system, public declaration, fixed schedule, seamless practice method, and pre-resolved solutions, you're not just creating habits, you're reshaping your fundamental identity. You stop being someone who tries and become someone who simply is. When that transformation completes, people will look at you and wonder how you do that. The answer will be simple. You don't do it. You are it. The question remains, are you ready for this level of transformation? transformation because it's not about discipline, it's about death and rebirth, the death of your inconsistent self, the birth of your unbreakable self. This system won't make you a better person, it'll make you a different person. Someone others will observe and think that's not normal. When you hear those words, you'll know you've finally reached where you wanted to be. The consistency that scares others is the only consistency worth pursuing. Think about what you want to declare publicly. What practice will you lock down completely? Remember, the goal isn't to impress anyone. The goal is to become someone so consistent it makes people uncomfortable, because that discomfort they feel is actually recognition. Recognition that what they thought was impossible is simply what they've been unwilling to do. Your transformation starts with a single decision, not a decision to try harder, but a decision to become someone different, someone who doesn't negotiate with comfort, someone who doesn't make excuses, someone whose word to themselves is absolutely sacred. The path I've outlined today has been tested by countless individuals across centuries. It works because it aligns with how your brain actually functions, not how you wish it functioned. It works because it removes the variables that typically derail consistency. It works because it transforms identity rather than just behavior. But it requires complete commitment. Half measures produce half results. You can't partially implement this system and expect full transformation. Either you're all in or you're setting yourself up for another cycle of starting and stopping. If you're ready to make this commitment, start today. Write your public declaration, choose your non-negotiable time, lock down your exact practice, pre-solve your obstacles, then execute without deviation for 90 days minimum. Don't modify, don't negotiate, don't make exceptions. Watch what happens not just to your habits, but to your entire sense of self. Watch how others begin responding to you differently. Watch how opportunities start appearing because people recognize something unshakable in your character. This is your moment to choose. Will you remain someone who tries, or will you become someone who simply is? The terrifying consistency that makes people uncomfortable is waiting for you on the other side of this decision. If this video has shifted your perspective on what's possible, subscribe to this channel and activate notifications so you don't miss content that will continue your transformation. Comment below with your public declaration. Tell me exactly what habit you'll implement using this system. Remember, the consistency that scares others is the only consistency worth having. Thank you for watching to the end. Your attention tells me you're serious about change. I'll see you in the next video where we'll dive even deeper into the psychology of unbreakable people. Until then, start building the version of yourself that never fails.